So who's the Ninja V really aimed at? Well, primarily I think it's aimed at users of mirrorless and DSLR cameras that can't record 422 10-bit internally. I think it makes a good match for those type of sort of cameras. The size is a lot better than the previous 7-inch versions of the say the Ninja Inferno. In terms of the size, actually suits this type of camera. I mean, I've got this sitting above a GH5 at the moment. Now, you know, do you really need to record externally to 422 10-bit? You know, that's an argument we could have all day. It really depends on what you're doing and where your material is ending up. You know, obviously it's beneficial in some instances to record in 422 10-bit, but the codecs are getting so good internally in most cameras that even if it's still only 420 8-bit, if you're not doing heavy grading or effects work, or you know, it's getting handed off to a client, if you're just a YouTuber or you're doing stuff that's going to end up online, really, you know, I wouldn't worry too much about going externally in terms of recording. I think where the Atomos 5 has, I guess, a good place is that it's a very good monitor, and you should look at it as, well, it's a really good monitor and it works really well on these small size cameras, and it's a lot better than the inbuilt LCD screens that are on offer from any of the manufacturers, in terms of the ones that come with small mirrorless and DSLR cameras. And you know, the recording functionality and everything should be looked at as basically a bonus in a lot of cases. And I think what's really exciting is the modules that are coming for the Ninja V. I think Atomos is really aware that maybe the external recording market is sort of drying up in a lot of instances, because so many of the cameras are capable of recording really good codecs now internally, that eventually the external recorder is probably going to be bordering on, you know, going extinct. So you need to start thinking about what other things can be used with your devices, and using the Atomos expansion ports for the wireless and I shouldn't say the wireless, but the wireless time code and the Ethernet, and then, you know, hopefully adding like an SDI module, or you know, you could do anything with the expansion port, even add you know, a built-in radio mic receiver so the material could come straight in here. There's a lot of nice functionality that will be coming in the future, and I think that's what probably makes the Ninja V more exciting to me than the fact that it's, you know, it can record 422 10-bit ProRes or DNx HD. You know, while that's nice, I don't think that's the big selling points for the Ninja V. I think as a monitor it's really good, and as I just talked about, that ability to be add those expansion modules, which really makes it a lot more versatile product, that I think a lot more people will be using it for those types sort of reasons than they will as a recorder in some instances. But again, that depends on the sort of camera that you're using and the quality that you want to actually capture. Now, I'm probably underplaying the recording capabilities of the Ninja V just a little bit too much. You know, it really is pretty impressive that you can record 4K 60p in a 422 10-bit ProRes file to the Ninja V. I think, you know, when I was talking before about, you know, whether you need to go externally or you can just record internally, I think I sort of overlooked one particular thing. If you're going to record log, you really shouldn't be recording log in a 420 8-bit codec on your camera. If you are going to be recording log, you really do need 422 10-bit in a lot of cases to take advantage of actually recording in log. So in that case, then you really should be going to an external recorder if your camera isn't capable of recording at least 422 10-bit internally and is capable of log. As far as build quality goes of the Ninja V, it's a lot better than previous Atomos recorder monitors that I've ever seen. I always had a problem with a lot of the Atomos devices. I always felt that they were more made for the prosumer than the pro market. They were made out of a lot of plastic. They just didn't feel very robust, and it seemed like, you know, attention to detail wasn't really taken into account in a lot of ways that they designed the products and the way that they were manufactured and built. Now, while the Ninja V still has a fair bit of polycarbonate on there, it's actually got an aluminium frame around the body now, and it just feels a lot more robust and solid in the hand. Doesn't feel as plasticky as previous Atomos products. Even little things like the on-off button in terms of how tactile it feels, and the battery release switches and the way the batteries go in, everything just feels a little bit more polished than previously on Atomos devices. So on this side of the Ninja V, you've got your HDMI in and HDMI out ports. These are full-sized HDMI connectors that go in here. And as you can see, if you use a Atomos Caddy and not one of the newer, smaller SSDs that are made for the Atomos V, it will overhang the edge here. But in some ways, this is not bad because it actually provides protection for your HDMI ports in a sort of strange way. So I'm okay with that. So on this side, you've got your on-off switch, you've got your 3.5mm mic or line audio input, you've got your headphone jack, and also you've got your remote port if you were hooking up, say, a LAN connection to the Atomos V. As far as mounting points go, you'll see on the top here, and this is exactly the same on the bottom as well of the Ninja V, you have this ARRI 2-pin 3/8 standard connector on here. So this is really nice, these two little holes in here, so if you've got the appropriate monitor arm, etc., that features the ARRI 2-pin 3/8 standard, you can actually put it in here and it stops the device from twisting around, which is really nice to have on a monitor. Now this also has a little 1/4-20 insert in here that you can take in or out, so it makes it very flexible in terms of being able to mount the Ninja V on an arm or to your camera or to just about anything else. So as far as cooling, fans and vents go on the Ninja V, this is the main exhaust port that's located on top of the unit. This is where you'll feel a bit of heat coming out of here, particularly after it's been on for a while. It does make a reasonable amount of noise. It's not so bad, but if you had this located right on top of a camera with an on-camera microphone, you're definitely going to be able to hear it. There's also two other vents. One's located underneath the battery, where the battery would go, and the other one goes underneath where the SSD is. On the back of the Ninja V, this is where our battery goes, and this is where our SSD caddy slides in. So very simple to put the caddy in. Just line it up, put it between the two grooves here, and slide it in, and that's it. Again, to remove it, very easy, just give it a little pull and take it straight out. So the back of the Ninja V, this is where our battery goes, and you'll see this is our little catch release switch for taking the battery off. Quite easy to put the battery on, just slide it down and it locks in place, and then if I just press the button on the side, I can take it straight off again.
Atomos devices have always been known as pretty power hungry beasts. And the Ninja V, while it's improved, is still fairly power hungry. Now it takes a Sony NP style battery, and it really depends on the age of your battery and the capacity as to sort of the run times you're going to get. With this particular battery, I was getting about an hour and a half of record time when it was on 100% brightness outdoors. If you reduce that brightness down, if you're working indoors, then you will get longer run times.
So just below where the battery goes, you'll see you have this little expansion port connector right here. So this is quite clever and probably one of the most interesting things for me in terms of the Ninja V. So the Atomos expansion port allows various different modules to be attached to the Ninja V. Now there's two that are coming out probably at the start of next year. One is a Bluetooth wireless timecode system that will integrate inside of here, and the other is an Ethernet connector. Now we're hoping there's going to be things such as an SDI module that come out, and you could even open this up to developers. Well, they have sort of opened up to developers, so you could have things like a radio mic receiver built in that's a module that clips in. There's a lot of endless possibilities for this sort of technology, and it makes the Ninja V certainly quite a versatile product. So let's go ahead and turn on the Ninja V. We do this by holding down the on-off switch for about 3 seconds. And you'll hear that initial fan noise that comes up. Now it's a lot noisier when it first starts up, and then you'll hear after about 10 seconds it'll start to wind down a little bit, but it's still very noticeable, that fan noise indeed. So this is the screen that you were greeted on when you first turn on the Ninja V, and as you can see it's saying no input because I don't have any camera actually turned on at the moment that is inputting a signal here into the device. Now you'll see that the layout is quite different from previous Atomos recorder monitors. This is the new operating system, and in a lot of ways it's a lot better than it previously was. I think it's easier to access functions. I'm still not a massive fan of using touchscreen. I do like dedicated buttons because you can't really use this if you're wearing gloves, and sometimes you've got to press multiple times for it to do something if you've got grease or something on your fingers. And of course, as I said before, if you're wearing gloves, you can't make any changes without taking those gloves off, so it's not ideal to be used in very cold conditions. Now back to the actual layout of here. So now we've got these different parameters that you can see here. So you've got an input page, you've got an output page, you've got this new one here called monitor, which is I'll talk about in a little bit. Then of course what your codec is that you're actually recording, your file, your battery level. Your audio meters now have been moved up here to the right hand corner instead of being down here in the middle where they previously were before. And you'll see this is all our icons down the bottom. Now these were the ones that used to be right in the middle here, and you notice that everything's been desaturated. Now this has been done on purpose, so it's less distracting and doesn't take away so much from the image that's on the screen, because on a small sort of 5-inch monitor like this, the more stuff you put on there, the more distractions there is, and you don't really want to be seeing all this extra information with big colored logos like Atomos used to have on here. So of course you've still got those normal functions here, but this is really nice because you can now just scroll and slide between all your monitor functions, so it's a lot quicker to get into something. You remember previously on other Atomos devices you had to press a button and then go into another menu, and you had a big menu come up over the screen, and it was just very distracting and not very intuitive to use, and took a little bit of time. Now first thing we need to do here is we need to, well, I'll just turn the camera on a second now. I apologize because the picture you're going to get up on here is of nothing, it's just of the background here, but it's actually telling me what my signal is that's coming in and what that is in terms of a rec. This is a rec 709. Now to set up your Ninja V, what you would do is you would first press on the input page. So this is telling me my source, what my signal is, and then down here it's my trigger. So it's going to be triggered via HDMI. Is the trigger on? And down here is your camera output. So this is where you would tell the Ninja V what you wanted to have come in. So if you just have a regular signal coming in that's not log or HDR, then you don't really need to touch any of this. But if you are outputting a log signal, for instance, or whatever, you have to turn this on. Then it gives you the ability to change what type of camera you've got. So you've got Sony, Canon, Panasonic, Arri, JVC, Red, Rec 2100, Fujifilm, Nikon, and we're back at Sony. Now when we're back at Sony, you can see there's different gammas available here. So the gamma in this case, you can choose between all these different variants, and also choose between what the gamut is. Again, if I move to Canon, you'll see you've got all your different options here: C-Log, C-Log 2, C-Log 3, and then all your different gamut settings on here. So that's basically sort of how all that actually works. Now, just for argument's sake, I'm going to say I've got Panasonic in here, and I've got say V-Log coming in and V gamut, and I'm going to get out of that. Now you'll see it's not going to display anything differently. What I've got up here is, you'll see it says the monitor page here, so it says saying native at the moment. So what this basically is implying is that whatever the signal is that's coming out of the camera is what you are viewing. It means there's nothing being put on here. I mean, what you got to remember is this is purely a monitoring function on here. Whatever you choose on here is not getting recorded onto the Ninja V. The Ninja V is always going to be recording whatever the signal is that's coming out of the camera into here that you've set up on your input page. Anything you choose just to monitor is strictly just that, a monitoring function. So if I bring up, whoops, I pressed on the wrong one there, sorry. If I bring up here and press my native, and you'll see these little icons, whatever's selected, it'll go yellow. It'll come up on here. So now it gives me the choice between native, so that's whatever the signal is coming in, Rec 709, and this is your HLG and PG HDR standards, which you can select here, and then also LUT. So as soon as I press a LUT, you know, you can load those up. You'll see what your LUT is. Native goes back to native. So that's how that sort of display sort of works there. You can also do things on here like flip the screen if you were shooting upside down or whatever. And this is your waveform, so you can change where it is, the opacity and the brightness. Focus peaking again here, you can change what type of focus peaking and the colors, and how big the actual focus peaking lines will be on there. Your zebras, this is where you would load up all your LUTs. Back to monitor, which is that same function we were on before that went straight to that. And our display, where you can muck around with the brightness levels here, as you can see, of the display from 0 up to 100, your gamma and your gain. And I'm just going to get out of that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn the camera off, and we'll just bring up a clip so you can actually sort of see what's going to go on. So first thing I'm going to do is going to go back into my input. So a clip that I've already previously loaded up on here was shot on an ARRI and ARRI C log. So what I need to do is now tell it what that clip or what that source would have been that was coming in. So in this case, I'm going to turn the log on, and then I'm going to choose ARRI. And in this case, it was shot at 800 EI, so I've selected that, and it was in the Alexa wide gamut. And so now I can get out of that, and when I press my play button, it's going to bring up that clip again here, and you'll see here is my clip. And again, what you're seeing is it's saying native here. So what's happening? So I'm just seeing what that image is that's being recorded on there, which is an ARRI C log image. Now obviously I don't want to view that in this particular case in this format, so what do I do again? I simply just go to hit my native monitoring button up there, and now I'm not going to be able to actually change these on here in terms of the Rec 709, etc, with this particular file, because I'm just showing you in playback. Normally you'd be able to choose these if it was a camera source coming in. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to view this with a LUT. So if I press the LUT button, you'll see boom, up comes whatever the LUT that has already been selected is there, and you'll see up here in the monitor again, it's now telling me what the LUT is. And again, this is not being burnt into the recording in any way. This is strictly just a monitoring tool. So if I wanted to change what LUT was there, I'd go to my LUTs, and you'll see I can have up to 8 LUTs in here. And if you've got LUTs already preloaded in, you'll see they have a little symbols here. And the nice thing is it'll actually tell you what that LUT is up here. So if you press and go between them, you actually know what the actual LUT is. It just doesn't have a number, which is a nice way to do it. And of course, if you wanted to load up a LUT, so here you'll see what can happen. I would have to load up cube LUTs onto the SSD and then bring them in here and then import them into my system. So again, I mean, I've already got these 3 in there, but say I wanted to put one back in again. So if I press this and then I double tap, you'll see it's now loading that LUT. And boom, up it comes, and you'll see the LUTs there. Now if I try and, if I have one already on here and I go to load a LUT up, it's going to say, error, do you wish to overwrite this file? Because I'm going to overwrite it to there. So I don't want to do that in this case. So you need to go to a new one to select what you want to see. Again, if I want to get out of this, you see now I've got my LUTed up image, which looks a lot nicer than looking at that log image on there. Now again, I can also go back to all these different tools and still look at everything as if I was normally shooting. So if I go back to my monitor page, you'll see I've got everything here. Just before I do that, let me just go back to one thing for you here. So if I go back to LUTs, what I've got here is I can do this compare as well. So if I press this, and I'll just get out of that, and you'll see what's happening now is that I'm seeing a split screen image with the log image on one side and my LUT on the other side. This is nice so you can compare the image. Now you can't actually scroll it across all the way like you can on say a small HD, but it's a nice feature to have on here. Again, if I want to get out of this, I would go back into my LUT page and just take this off, and I'll go back to monitor, and now you'll see I've got all my various functions on here. So you'll see here is my waveform. Now if I want to make adjustments to any of these, what I can do is I just press the adjustment button, and then you'll see it lets me change the brightness of that, the opacity, if I wanted to change the opacity of it, and also I can change the size of where it's and size and positioning of where it actually goes on there. So once I get out of that, you'll see it stays on there. Whatever I'm got set will actually come up here on the screen, so I can just take it off. And again, here you can see that's the RGB parade. And again, if I want to make adjustments, I can change, you know, the size of what's coming up there. See, there's my vector scope. And here is my focus peaking. So I can have a focus peaking. You can have multiple things on, like I can have only 2, unfortunately. So you can't have like 10 different things on. It only allows you to have 2 functions up there at the same time. So you can't have like 3 or 4 things. And then you go, this is my zebras. So if I actually had zebras set on here, I can change the level at which I want the zebras. Get out of that again. And here is my false color. The trouble with false color here is it just gives you a guide. There's no actual numbers on anywhere here. Now false color really depends on the actual camera that you're using, but at least it's ballpark in terms of what it's giving you in terms of the references from going from you know, black to pure white and what's going to clip or not. Still a good tool to have on there. And then you've got your blue only. And if I tag further along, whoops, sorry. So now we have our magnification, and you'll see, I mean, the screen quality is really, really good. It's got so many pixels per square inch, this display. It's almost as much as a current iPhone. So, you know, it's really good for getting critical focus if you're shooting in UHD, or you're shooting, you know, fairly wide open on lenses. It's really nice to be able to get really critical focus on there. And again, you can go in even closer. You can really see, you know, sort of detail because of the quality of the screen, which is really nice. Again, I'll get out of that, I'll go back, and then we've got our various frame guides as well on here for changing, see what we like. And then of course we've got our anamorphic 2-time, you know, different squeeze ratios, 1.5, 1.33 times. So this is your battery information here. So it's showing me in volts. I mean, I wish this said percentage or minutes remaining, because that would be a lot easier, I think, for a lot of people to understand. The voltage level, you know, it's okay, but it's not so great. Here, of course, you can put in your metadata like your date and time, etc., etc. And then the info will tell you everything about your Ninja 5. It's one thing you need to be aware of with audio recording on the Ninja V. Now at the moment we've got an HDMI signal coming out of the GH5 here going in, and you can see we've got our audio meters coming up here on the screen showing us the audio that's being captured internally by the GH5. Now if I click on here, so you can see the audio levels are coming here through channels 1 and 2. So if I get back out of there and I press record, and I'm just going to record about 10 seconds of audio here with me talking, just so you can see we've got our meters here, so we know that the audio is being recorded. So I'll just stop that, and now I'm going to go into playback mode, and you'll see now here is my clip and there's no audio. Why can't I hear or see any audio meters on my screen? Okay, this is really strange. So if I go into the meters here, you'll see here it is. Now it's saying 1 and 2 here, 3 and 4 here. So 1 and 2 is by default set for monitoring, and you have to press the headphone icon here to be able to hear it. But it's not coming up on 1 and 2 as I just showed you here before. If I scroll back and we play this again, there's no audio meters coming up here. So what is going on? Well, if I go back in here and I select 3 and 4, and now I go back in here and I play, there's my audio meters coming up on the screen. Now, weren't my audio meters just originally set on 1 and 2? So why are they ending up on 3 and 4? This is really confusing the way this has been set out by Atomos, and I can see where people are going to get confused and maybe go, geez, what happened? Did I actually record any audio? Well, here is what you initially need to do. So if I go back into record mode, I'll wait till my picture hops back up. Now I've got my audio here, and you can see 1 and 2, it's saying 1 and 2. But the problem is, the way Atomos has set this up is that the analog input here is actually for the 3.5mm in on the side of the Ninja V. Now this by default gets recorded to channels 1 and 2, and then if you have another source, say from HDMI coming in, it's going here to what's saying 1 and 2, but it's actually 3 and 4. The way they've laid this out is really confusing. If you don't want this to happen, what you need to do is you need to deselect the analog left and right recording on here. And now, so if we go back in and I press record again, and we're recording away now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just doing a short little clip. So if I stop that now and I go back into playment mode, you can see there's my audio meters now coming up. Again, if I click on here, you'll see that the audio is now back on 1 and 2. So that's just something you need to remember when you're doing audio on the Ninja V. But if you don't want to see any overlays on the screen, simple one tap and you can see there you got my full image on there, which is really nice. I mean, one of the great things is this is a really good display here on the Ninja V. I think it's the best display that they have ever made or produced for a monitor recorder. It's got a real high pixels per square inch that's almost up there near the current iPhone. So you're getting that sort of level of quality, and the amount of detail you can see. It's very clear, it's very easy to get focus, and the colors seem really nice and accurate. Nice amount of saturation without being too much, but all in all, you know, it's a really good screen.
So is the Ninja V actually daylight viewable? Well, I went outside to do a few tests just to show you here. I'm just shooting with an iPhone. I'm just showing you this is pointing the screen directly into the sun. You can see when I come across into shade, and then I go back across straight into full sun. You can see, yes, it's very viewable outdoors. If you get direct sunlight hitting the screen, then yeah, it'll be a little bit difficult to see. But as you can see here, this is the back screen on the Sony a7S II, and you can see you can't even see an image out there in that bright sun, but you can clearly see it on the Ninja V. Again, here you can see a comparison between the back screen on the A7S the Ninja V and also the Shogun Inferno. Now the Shogun Inferno has 500 nits more of brightness at 1500 nits compared to the 1000 of the Atomos 5, but I did find it's a little bit more reflective. Here you can see this is the sun coming down and we're shooting from behind, and you can see both those screens very viewable. You can obviously see the increased brightness of the Shogun Inferno here as opposed to the Ninja V, but the Ninja V is still holding its own really well out here in the sunny conditions. You can see the difference with what the screen looks like on the back of the A7S. Really hard to judge outdoors. Much better to use a monitor like the Ninja V outdoors if you want to really pay attention to what you're doing in terms of getting key focus and exposure correctly using these small cameras.
So here's our regular frame on the Small HD 502. Now I'm going to go 1:1 pixel zoom in there. So we're just looking at the detail that can be displayed on this monitor. I'm going to go in all the way in there, 4 times magnification, just so we can see the level of detail of what you can see in the image and how the colors look on the Small HD 502. So now let's have a look at that same image on the Atomos Ninja V. So this is our normal magnification. So we're just looking at colors and overall performance of the monitor. And you'll see this is where touchscreen is not so good sometimes. Touch back up there and get into the middle. So do our 1:1 magnification. Just have a look at that there, and then we'll go into 1:1 magnification. You can see what the image looks like there. Now we'll go into our 2 times, and so you can see the comparison with what it was on the Small HD. Is the Ninja V perfect? No, it's not, but in my opinion it's the best product that Atomos have ever made. The build quality is better than other Atomos products. The new Atom OS is a big improvement, the screen is great, and the addition of the Atom Expand data port gives the product a lot more versatility. The only real negative is that fan noise. If you're working in a lot of quiet locations or doing a lot of interview work, you may well find that fan noise is a problem. Even if the Ninja V didn't feature any recording capabilities, as a standalone HDMI monitor, it's very impressive. I just wish Atomos would hurry up and release an SDI module, or better yet, just make an HDMI SDI monitor only version of the Ninja V. At $695 US, I think it's competitively priced given its feature set. It's considerably more affordable than the video device's Pixie 5 and provides better performance and functionality than most other 5-inch monitors that are available. Despite the few small gripes I have with the Ninja V, I actually really like it. Atomos have certainly taken steps forward in creating better built products, not just products that feature catchy specifications. Build quality and attention to detail were the 2 main things that used to frustrate me with Atomos products, but the Atomos Ninja V has gone some way, although not all the way, to appease my concerns. If you own a small DSLR or mirrorless camera and want to record in a higher bitrate and colour space, with the added benefit of getting a very good monitor, then the Ninja V is certainly worth a close look. If you are going to be recording log on a camera that doesn't have a very good internal codec, then you really should be looking at going to an external recorder to get the best benefit out of your camera.